Well, hello there, Dippers, and welcome back to Game 25 of the Ducks on the Pond podcast. We are back. Last week, we took a hiatus. This week, we're going to come back with some more fallacies, some more headlines, and our boy Ohtani has been on fire since we last talked to you. Guys, as always, I'm your host, Drake, joined by the producer, the man, Leighton Pip Chavantone.
Football might be here, but it's still baseball season.
And our guest host, Lex Glasgow.
Texas is back, folks.
We thought Texas was back during the game against Maryland, but we were proved wrong. But this is a baseball show, so Lex, we will stick to baseball. Guys, as always, be sure to listen to the Mothership Show, which drops every Monday, Knuckle Sandwich every Thursday, Fantasy 15 on Fridays. We've been hitting winners, and Food for Thought every Saturday with Fletch and Dylan Hartley. Guys, be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at The Saucy Pod. And, again, we apologize. We had a very, very busy week last week, so we were not able to be here. We apologize for that. But we are back with more headlines. Like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about the David Wright situation and how we're finally going to see his swan song with the Mets. We're going to talk about some of the Rookie of the Year races. Ohtani has been a man on fire, and our fallacy list is actually quite a fun one for this week. But before we get to any of this, Leighton C., producer, you know what to do.
Play ball!
Hey, Ducks on the Pond here, kid. Ducks on the Pond. Let's go now, baby. Drive 'em in. Welcome to Ducks on the Pond.
A Sauce on the Side production. Alright guys, so one of the cooler stories this week is David Wright. He's actually going to be activated by the Mets on September 25th and will be able to play the last games of his career as a Met. He missed most of the last 2 seasons with back and neck injuries. He's kind of fought like hell to even get back into this situation to be able to play. A lot of people wrote him off. You know, for the Mets, a lot of people thought that if they were down and out, it would be Tebow time, but instead, it is David Wright time. Guys, what do we make of this story?
You know, this is one of those feel-good stories you really only see in baseball. Whenever you see 2 games, they do things like this. But David Wright, you know, MVP candidate for years in a row, always played the game the right way. It's one of the players your kids can really look up to. Had a naked back injury that thought he would end his career. He battled back over the past 2.5 seasons, and it's just great to see him get to play one more time before he retires.
It's definitely one of the great feel-good stories. This is Captain America, people. Back in 2013, the World Baseball Classic, it's Captain America getting to play again. I love it. The fact that he's getting to ride off on the team that he's played his whole career for, I think that just adds way more to it. It's a great story. You guys should tune in and watch him.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it wouldn't surprise me if he comes back out and hits a home run. Like, that is just so baseball. If he comes back in his last stint with the Mets, probably his last stint in his career, comes back and hits a home run, that would be absolutely phenomenal. The thing that sticks out to me the most is the differences between the New York franchises. So I'm going to look back to whenever A-Rod was basically had fallen off the planet at the end of his career, and the Yankees basically come up to him and say, hey, you know, we're going to cut, like, you're not going to be on this roster moving forward after next week, so we're going to go ahead, we'll throw you out there for 1 game. And you look at this Mets team, they stuck with David Wright. I mean, hats off to them. It just shows the differences between these teams. And, you know, the Mets, they stuck with David Wright even to kind of a fault, in my opinion. But they felt like they owed this guy something, and it's rare that you see ball clubs feel like they are obligated to kind of let a guy go out on his terms instead of the ball club's terms, or, you know, for other motives. I absolutely love this, and if you look back to the A-Rod situation, if you're really not familiar with it, kind of dive into it a little bit. Do you guys remember whenever A-Rod was kind of definitely not the same player he was, whether it be, you know, the lack of PEDs, what have you, and the Yankees just kind of coming out and just basically breaking up with him at the end of a season?
Yeah, it's just an odd thing, too, because he was getting paid a lot of money by Yankees still when he got cut. And it's like one of the scenarios where they was just, I guess, tired of the lack of production, or tired of him being around the franchise in general. and just has to move on. And we'll probably see something like that again with Chris Davis in this offseason. But David Wright never had the stigma that A-Rod had. He never had all the field issues that A-Rod had.
Do you think this is a good question for both you guys? Do you think that this is, do you put this on the franchises, the Yankees or the Mets, and just look at the differences there? Or do you think that this is just player specific, and the fact that David Wright is probably looked up to as a guy who did things the right way, and A-Rod is probably the exact opposite?
It's definitely player specific. He's not on the head. Like David Wright, like his whole career with the Mets, did things the right way. A-Rod, he was a Mariner, he was a Ranger, then he was a Yankee, bunch of PEDs. And making franchises look bad is very player specific.
It's definitely player specific here. I mean, you look what the Yankees did with Jeter. I mean, Jeter, lifetime Yankee. They sent him off the right way. The Mets sending David Wright off the right way. A-Rod, the whole scandal with PEDs, the off-the-field distractions that he became at the end, the lack of production. I think that was the reason this came to an end when it did.
Yeah, I absolutely love this move by the Mets, though. So we kind of talked about the Yankees for a minute. Aaron Judge, he's back to pinch running and only playing defense. Played right field in the 8th and 9th innings on Friday. Guys, do you think this is smart by the Yankees to kind of ease him in? Or do you think that they should just wait until he's full go?
I think it actually is a solid move here. Because by activating him, they're avoiding moving him to the 60-day DL, which they were going to have to do, which would have put him out for the entire playoffs, which I think that's a wise move to do that. Not letting him hit is a good idea. Putting him in the 8th and 9th, he was close to winning a Gold Glove last year, and so he's a solid defender. I highly doubt they're not going to put him in a situation where he has to run the bases.
No, see, that's what this is. This is A.M. Boone guaranteeing the Yankees lose a wild card game. They're going to have to win. We're getting 162. Don't heck game ahead of the Athletics. Put him in the pinch run. Head first slide. Breaks his wrist again.
That is not
it's a conspiracy. Somebody's paying off Aaron Boone. Somebody's paying off Aaron Boone. I want to find out who it is.
You've spoken like a true Red Sox fan there. I think it's interesting, to say the least. It's one thing to activate him onto your roster. It's another to put him out there to play. But, if he's healthy and the doctors say that he's okay, you might as well put him out there, because I think it's smarter to ease a guy in. That way he can at least see the field and kind of get back into the flow of things, instead of just saying, hey, it's postseason, go out there and produce.
So, we talk about how he played right field for 8th and 9th innings. Do you think he was told do not dive for a ball?
Oh, absolutely. They said do not do anything that you don't have to do. Just go out there, field it off a hop if you have to, just get the ball right back in.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I go against my conspiracy theory on somebody from the Boston Globe paying off Aaron Boone.
That'd be an interesting conspiracy theory, to say the least.
You hate to see it.
So we'll talk about a few the 2 Rookie of the Year races, and we actually have 5 candidates that you could probably draw a line to them winning an award. In the NL, we have Robert Acuna and Juan Soto. Guys, what have you made of both of their seasons so far, and who would you edge the award towards?
This is, I think, the toughest race in the American League for sure. I'm going to have to edge it towards Juan Soto just because it's a little bit of recency bias in this. But he's been an absolute tear the past 3 or 4 weeks. They play about the same game because Acuna diminished so much time. I think the award will go to Acuna because Braves are going to win that division, but I'll get to this Juan Soto.
I'm going to give it to Juan Soto, too, because look at the average. 304 average with a 421 on base percentage. The home runs are similar. He's got more RBIs. He's got less stolen bases, which that's kind of a lost stat in today's day and age. And Soto's 19, but you look at him on the field, you go, damn, this looks like a grown man out there. This don't look like a 19-year-old kid playing baseball.
He's a beast. I think he passed Ken Griffey Jr. for the most home runs by a teenager in the MLB.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all that. He's like second or third on home runs by a teenager.
If you're mentioned in any breath with Ken Griffey Jr., that is just phenomenal, especially whenever you're talking at the very beginning of your career.
Yeah, like right now he's on pace to go in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, absolutely.
He's on pace to waltz into it.
Yeah, he's on pace to be a first ballot
teenager. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's phenomenal. I'm torn on this award, because at Rookie of the Year, like MVP, if it's close, you have to go with the team, with the guy who led his team to the playoffs. And, Acuna, he's been a huge part in getting the Braves into the postseason. Like, he has been one of the leaders of this team. You know, obviously Freddie Freeman's the emotional leader, but as far as going out there and playing every day, Acuna was hurt, but going out there and performing at a high level, Acuna was a huge reason for the success for the Braves this season. But if you just look at the sheer numbers, and which I feel like Rookie of the Year should be, it should be a sheer number stat. It shouldn't have any emotional investment, any win-loss investment, because, I mean, you are a rookie. Like, it's not like you are going to be one of the guys that the team leans on. And I would go with Juan Soto as well. I mean, Acuna has had a phenomenal season, but if you are getting on base, 421 on base percentage for Juan Soto, and he's hitting north of 300. If he keeps that up, I would almost say that it would be a tragedy if he doesn't win the award. I mean, his numbers have been absolutely phenomenal. I know that at the end of the season, he's only going to play right around 120 games, but still, playing 120 games and still getting on base at a 420 mark is ridiculous.
For all you stat heads out there who love WAR, Acuna does have a 1.5 higher WAR with playing 6 fewer games.
He's a beast defensively, though. I would say that the defensive WAR probably helps him out a ton.
I'm sure it does.
In that statistic. So, you guys, are we all in agreement here that Juan Soto
I would look
should
for
win?
Juan Soto, yes.
Yeah, Juan Soto all the way.
Yeah, I agree. And I think we are probably going to be unanimous on this one in the AL, because I think this one's pretty obvious after the past few weeks. So it's basically a 3-horse race at this point. We have our boy Shohei Ohtani, Gleyber Torres, and Miguel Andujar. So we've got 2 Yankees in the mix. I know where Leighton's going to lean on this. Try to stay off the Yankees here. But guys, all of them have very good numbers for this season. You can make a case for all of them to have the award at different times. Each of them, you would probably have given them the award at some point in the season and said that it was a landslide. But where are we leaning as we're about to wrap in 162 games?
Definitely leaning towards Ohtani. You know, the fact that he's missed some games might be the thing that hinders his chances on this. I mean, if you look at the stats, the offensive stats are very similar, except for Ohtani's kind of behind in the RBI category. But the fact that he's pitched for 51 innings and has 63 strikeouts, that's what's going to set him over the top and let him win this award. The fact that he pitches.
Yeah, this whole thing kind of chaps my ass getting the 2 Yankees on here. And Gleyber Torres,
And you're going to have to deal with them and Giancarlo
10 more
and
years.
Aaron Judge.
10 years.
10 years.
10 years.
At least 10 years.
10 years.
10 years is the minimum. I got to deal with these cocksuckers. But if Torres didn't get hurt and miss all that time, I think he would be the runaway. He'd have close to 40 home runs and 100 RBIs. But it has to be Shohei Ohtani. I mean, if you look at just the batting stats, it's Andujar on a landslide. But Ohtani allowed 19 runs and 51.2 innings pitched and 63 strikeouts. Just like a two-way phenomenon they might not see ever again. And he never got hurt. He might be the MVP of the year. So you got to give Rookie of the Year to Ohtani.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, people, like Lex had even brought up that, he'd missed games. But if you look at Ohtani as a hitter and a pitcher, he's appeared in 101 games. Like, that's nothing to shake a stick at, especially whenever you look at Gleyber Torres, who's only been in 110, who, that's not much more than Ohtani, especially because Ohtani had days factored in to where he was just resting, getting ready to pitch. So I think this is Ohtani by a landslide. I mean, because the offensive numbers are all pretty similar. Ohtani gets on base at a higher clip than the rest of these guys. But you want to say RBIs or, the home run numbers aren't even. Well, the home run numbers aren't even because of the plate appearances and the fact that Ohtani plays for the Angels and the other 2 guys play for the Yankees has a huge reason to why the RBI numbers are so different. I think it has to be Ohtani. Ohtani's been on a tear of absolute late, and I just love it. I absolutely love this. And we're talking about a guy who's pitched 51 innings this year, has I think he's 4-2 as a pitcher this season, and his strikeout per 9, as far as starting pitching goes, he's probably not going to qualify for anything because he has only appeared in 53 innings or 51 innings. His strikeout per 9 is even with Justin Verlander. And we're talking about how Justin Verlander is one of the best pitchers in the game, especially whenever it comes to striking guys out. Had he been able to qualify, as far as starting pitching goes, he would be third in the AL strikeout per 9. That is 11.9 Ks per 9.
Is it almost possible that Shohei Ohtani, coming over with all the hype, might be like the most underrated player? Like one of the underrated players in baseball somehow?
Oh, he is absolutely underrated.
Like every night, I feel like he's hit a freaking home run.
Oh,
Every night.
I don't know if it's really an underrated thing. I think it's Ohtani is the fact that he plays on the West Coast, so here we don't ever get to see him play. I mean, heck, they're playing at bedtime here for us, so I think a lot of that we don't get to see any of it. And a lot of baseball nowadays is just regional coverage.
Oh, I agree with that. And, I mean, really, you know, especially coming into the dog days, once you get to, like, July and August, like, who's really going to tune in? If Ohtani's not the starting pitcher, who's really going to stay up until midnight to watch the Rangers play the Angels when both of them are at a contingent?
Ranger fans?
Absolutely.
It's just all regional bias, basically.
The guy's ridiculous. That's all I can put the bottom line. The guy is ridiculous. 91 games as a hitter, 20 home runs, and he's not even done.
He'll probably get MVP votes and miss all those games.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I think Ohtani should win this award by a landslide, and it'll actually get us right into our Ohtani watch. So since our last show, it's been 2 weeks. We do apologize about that. Ohtani has been a man on a mission. I feel like the only reason, and we talked about this actually our last show, the only reason we thought that he was staying in this was to be able to win that Rookie of the Year, whether it be money incentive or just the simple pride factor. Ohtani, in the last 2 weeks, he is hitting .378, 5 home runs, and only 10 strikeouts. Guys, if this isn't a guy who wants to win that Rookie of the Year award, I don't know what he is. Obviously, they're saying that he needs the Tommy John surgery in the offseason. But what do we make about these last 2 weeks?
I mean, what's happened to me is the 10 strikeouts to 5 home runs. All season, like, the biggest advice on this guy hitting has been his strikeouts. And in the past 2 weeks, like, you're batting .378 with 10 strikeouts. That's insane. That's like Jose Altuve numbers right there. And coming to the home stretch to win Rookie of the Year award, that's what you got to do.
I think a lot of this hot streak is the fact that he knows he's not pitching anymore. He knows that they're not even going to try to risk it for him. It's just him focusing completely on his hitting. And since he's solely doing that, he's just sitting there. He's locked in as a hitter and not worrying about everything else that goes with it.
I absolutely agree with you there, because I do think that a lot of it has to be the fact that he's not even worried about pitching at this point. He's just locked in, and I love that take, Lex. And you look at Ohtani, you usually see guys, you know, in their rookie season or even in their sophomore year, the sophomore slump, and it could be a real thing. And hitters can come out of the gates on fire, and because nobody really knows how to pitch him yet. But now there's a ton of film on this guy hitting, and all he's done is develop as a hitter more so than what guys who are pitching against him have figured out how to pitch him. So it's phenomenal. It's a rarity, I feel like, in baseball, especially with young talents. And Ohtani, these last 2 weeks, has been a man on fire. I want to see it continue. I want to see this guy walk out, put the nail in the coffin, and say, keep the award out of my hands. I know I only played 120 games less than 120 games this season. Try to keep the award out of my hands. So, guys, we'll go to anything more than a fallacy. So, in case you guys aren't familiar with it, basically what we do is say, you know, this guy's on pace for this number. Can he sustain it? This guy is hitting this absurd rate. Can he keep this up? And we're actually, since the season's coming to a close, we're going to go ahead and take a look inside some of the statistical leaders in baseball. So right now, the home run leaders, it's come down to a 2-horse race. You have Chris, the real Crush Davis, sitting at 42 home runs, and JD Martinez sitting at 41. Guys, who is going to walk away with the home run title this year?
I'm going to go with Crush Davis, not the one that plays in Baltimore, people. The one that plays for the Athletics.
If he won it, he hit the shit out of the ball at the end of the season.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Crush Davis had the best final 2 weeks in the history of baseball.
Yes. Every time he stepped to the dish, he hit a home run.
Hey, don't doubt him. Don't doubt him, Layden. He might do it. I think Chris Davis for the A's is going to win this. Just because I think JD Martinez, I think here towards the end, the Red Sox are kind of locked in. They might see a little rest, and he might not play as much. But Chris Davis is going to be locked in every day in that wild card race.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chris Davis too, not just because the best factor. But because the last 13 games, the Red Sox played the Indians 3 times, the Astros 3 times, not the Astros, Yankees 3 times. Some good pitching staffs there, and Chris Davis has to hit the home run so I feel like can win the division and force Astros into a wild card. I hope he doesn't do that, but
I'm gonna agree with you guys. Actually, I think Chris Davis is gonna win this title, just for the fact that it's on an as-needed basis. You know, like every time Chris Davis comes up to the plate, he knows he has one job, and that's hit a home run. And you know, JD Martinez, he's gonna see some days off between now and the end of the season, just to kind of rest guys and get them ready for the postseason and not necessarily rush it. The Athletics are wanting that wild card game played in the Coliseum.
they're winning the division.
Yes, they're going all in. I mean, we've seen them already push guys' starts back so that they can play the tougher opponent. And Chris Davis is going to be out there every single day. He's going to be taking daddy hacks. He knows he has one job. Over the last month and a half, this dude has been on fire. I think he's going to end up winning this award. Do you think that there's any possible way that he gets 50?
Clutch? No. No. I think they have 14 games left. I don't think they're going to get 50.
He's going to have to get hot, stay hot.
I think he's going to get 45.
Yeah. 45 is okay number.
Yeah.
We'll set the bar at 45.
I would that not be awesome for him to just go on an absolute tear?
Because if they'd be awesome at 50.
Yeah, and then immediately, does that make him an MVP favorite? I mean, we've seen it in the past. If you hit a certain number, boom, you're there.
This is the American League's just too loaded, and he's bound 260.
Yeah.
Last year Giancarlo won. Giancarlo hit 268, hit 60 home runs in a weak National League race. So
I would like to see him get 50 and not have to get moved to the leadoff spot in order to do so, just to get more at bats. Yeah, that last year that left us such
we're all about Chris Davis getting 50 home runs now.
That left a sour taste in my mouth last year. Whenever they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move Giancarlo into the one hole. We want to get him more at bats."
One more at bat again.
That's crazy. But I think 45 is a good number for Crush. I think he's going to get that. So, guys, we'll go to the walk leaders. And Bryce Harper, if he's going to lead in anything this year, it might as well just be walks. He is leading Mike Trout. Bryce Harper sits at 116, Mike Trout at 115. Guys, who's going to walk away with this?
This is an interesting race to me because both of you guys' teams are out of the playoffs. So they're not going to be pressing any more than they have been all season. Bryce Harper sees less strikes than anybody in baseball. He wants to get paid this offseason. His average hasn't got too much higher, so OPS keep getting higher. I'm going to go with Bryce Harper.
I'm going to say Bryce Harper. I mean, there's not really much rhyme or reason to this between these two. They're both great hitters, and Bryce Harper, he's had an amazing second half since after the All-Star break. I think he's going to win it. I think if Trout had been healthy for the whole season, he would have definitely won it.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I'm going to lean towards Mike Trout here. You know, if they continue just to put him out there every day, I think Mike Trout's going to win this award. Because if you look at, walks per at-bat, Mike Trout is leading that category, and it would be pretty significant if I had to guess. I haven't really looked at the numbers, but with the time that Mike Trout has missed, and he's still only one behind Bryce Harper, I think that he's going to catch him, and I could kind of see Bryce doing what he has done for a lot of the season and swinging at stuff just to try to manufacture the home run numbers and manufacture other stats outside of the on-base percentage just to try to get that contract built up for next year. I think Mike Trout's going to win this award, and I could see him kind of pulling away with it towards the end here. So now, this is the award that you do not want to win. The most strikeouts in a season as a batter. This is a pretty prestigious award. We have two guys that are closing in on 200 strikeouts. That is unbelievable to me that two guys are closing in on 200 strikeouts. But it's kind of impressive that Giancarlo struck out 5 times in 2 separate games at the beginning of the season, and he's still under 200 at this point. So we're going to say Giancarlo, he's at 199 now. Yoan Moncada, he is at 198. Guys, who is taking home this award?
I'm going to go with Yoan Moncada for a few reasons. The first one you said was Giancarlo had 5 Ks, 2 games, still not have 200 home runs or 200 strikeouts. And the Yankees,
200 home runs would be awesome.
And the Yankees did actually win games. There might be scenarios where he just try to hit a home run and just probably put the ball in play. Yoan Moncada, the White Sox, he's going to hit a home run every time because what's he playing for? Stats at this point.
No, I agree.
So I'm going to go Yoan Moncada.
I think it's gonna be Moncada. The fact that he struck out that many times in fewer games than Stanton is unbelievable. You know, we're kind of sleeping on a couple guys here. You know, Joey Gallo is right there at 193 too.
Joey Gallo.
I love Joey Gallo.
Joey Gallo is always a threat to strike out 5 times in one game.
How many does he have right now? At 206
Joey
average.
Gallo's at 37 home runs with a 209 average. Leighton.
209, man.
It's 3 points higher than you thought it was.
Get it up there.
Joey Gallo is one of those great things about baseball. Like, he doesn't hit his body weight. He's going to get you close to 40 home runs. But he's also going to strike out 200 times in the season. That is phenomenal.
yes.
Do you think Gallo's going to sneak up on their heels and catch him?
He might sneak up on
He
the heels
might.
and catch him. Like I said, he's a threat to strike out 5 times in every game.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can see him getting. I don't think he catches. I think Moncada is going to strike out almost 400 games rest of the season at this point.
Hey, Chris
But he
Davis
just
is
got
not too
some
far
young
behind, too. The other Chris Davis, not the one that we talked about earlier. Chris Davis is at 183 and he's only played 120 games.
Holy smokes.
How many hits does he have right now?
Let me go back and look. Chris Davis
I know
has
for a while. He don't
79 hits this season.
Oh my God.
So he's almost 3 times as likely to strike out. He's 2.5 times more likely to strike out than get
He's
a
got a
hit.
174 average.
That is phenomenal. 174. I honestly, I think that Moncada is going to catch Stanton and pass him just because of the strikeout rate being higher for one simple reason, and he's probably going to play for the remainder of the season. And, you know, somebody has to have informed Giancarlo Stanton that he's leading the MLB in strikeouts, and maybe he doesn't want to do that because, you know, at the end of his career, sitting there and saying, you know, he led the MLB in strikeouts 5 times compared to 4, kind of, you know, it puts a different spin on things. I could see him just going up there and just trying not to strike out and actually just getting the ball into play. And Moncada strikes out at a higher rate, and like Leighton said, he's not playing for anything except dingers. So what's he going to do? Try to hit dingers. He's going to be like Big Al.
I hit dingers.
Yes.
Hits a dinger.
Yes.
So, guys, if the season ended right now, this time we can finally start to put some weight on things. Things are closing up, and it is getting very, very interesting, basically on both sides. So, in the AL East, we have the Red Sox. They've all but put the nail in the coffin. AL Central, we have the Indians. They've already clinched their division. And the AL West, we have the Astros. And your wild card teams, the Yankees lead the Athletics by 1.5 games for the first wild card spot. Obviously, the A's have the second. The A's are trailing the Astros, I believe, at behind 3.5 games for the division lead. Guys, what's going to hold here and what's going to drop?
Well, this is all basically said, I think. I can see the Athletics winning the home wild card game, but I don't see that really happening. Can you take a second to talk about how the Indians clinched the division and only have 83 wins, and Tampa Bay Rays have 81 wins?
That's crazy.
Like, if they have Central this year, the worst division of all time. I think it has
Probably.
to be.
Probably. You know, and this is a bummer. Because the Rays have to play the Red Sox and the Yankees a ton.
18
And-
times each.
Yes, and then you look at the Indians, they get to play, you know, the White Sox a ton, they get to play the Royals a ton, both teams that still aren't even at 60 wins. I think something has to change in baseball. I think something has to change because I don't think the divisions are really getting it done. And especially in a time where we see teams trying to do this tremendous turnover just to try to, you know, build all this talent. You can't have 3 teams that are tanking in your division and me still respect that. And I didn't even mention the Tigers, who are sitting at a solid 60 wins. And the A's, the Rays, hats off to them if they are able to pass the Indians for in win total this season. But clinching with this many games left and you only have 83 wins is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the stats on, but that division has to be the worst in the history of baseball.
It's got to be up there, that's for sure. Because that's a it's just terrible. That's a fallacy in itself, in
Yeah.
my opinion. I do think the A's are going to take this, though. I said it whenever it was actually one of my hot takes on the Monday show that whenever the Yankees, I think they still had like an 8 to 10 lead, a 10 game lead in the wild card race. I said that the the wild card game would not be played at Yankee Stadium, and it's looking like it's not. Because if you look at the A's, they've been on fire. They have done everything in this second half to win this wild card race. I mean, they're 7-3 in their last 10. You look at the Yankees, they're 5-5 in their last 10. If they continue that over the next week, the A's are going to be sitting there in the first place of the wild card. I think it's going to come down to that last week of the season, and the A's end up just nipping up on them and taking that wild card spot.
Something's got to be done with the way we do things for the playoff formatting. I said it a while ago. Let's move to a seeding system instead of a division-based system. You looky here. I'm looking right now. The Indians just clinched their division, and they have the 5th best record in the American League, with Seattle 1 game behind them and Tampa Bay 2 games behind them. If those two teams finish with a better record and don't make the playoffs, because the fact that the Indians won their division they've only won 83 games, that's nuts to me. Let's also think about this. The Yankees might win 100 games this year. There's a chance that they might win 100 games this year. The Red Sox have won 100 games. They're finishing with the best record in baseball. Okay, what's the Red Sox reward for winning all those games? You get to play another 100-win team, possibly in the first round of the playoffs.
Oh, not even the Yankees, dude? But the Athletics
Yes.
still have a
Yeah.
chance to win 100 games this season. I know it's a little bit of a stretch. They'd have to go on an absolute tear, but it's nothing we haven't seen out of the Athletics so far this
But
season.
think about that, though. The fact that you won 100 games, now your reward is you get to play another 100-win team. That's nuts.
I agree with you. I think that's terrible because at the end of this season, we could be sitting here talking about a Boston Red Sox team that had won 110 games and gets the reward of playing a 100-win Yankee or Oakland team where Houston, they end up sneaking in, barely getting over 100 wins, and then ended up playing a 90-win Cleveland team. That's a ridiculous thing to look at. And how big of a kick is it to Seattle and Tampa if they end up surpassing the Indians in record for this season? Those two teams don't even get a shot at the play-in game, at the wild card game, and the Cleveland Indians are automatically guaranteed 3 games in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge kick in the nads. Like, you're a better team than the Indians are. Like, maybe not talent-wise, but over 62 games, you won more games, and you don't get a chance to play for the World Series. That's asinine if you think about it. Any other sports like that.
Yeah, and I really hope the only way that this is going to change is if we have both the Mariners and the Rays surpass the Indians in wins this season and finish with a better record. And at the end of the season, we're sitting here looking at how in the world the team with the 6th best record in the MLB completely avoided the wild card. No, it wouldn't even be 6. It would be worse than that at that point. It would be 7th.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It would be the 7th team.
The 7th best record in baseball, getting to surpass the wild card game, and 2 of the teams that finished ahead of them, not even in the postseason. I don't remember the last time that happened, but this would be absolutely crazy if that were to happen. So, guys, we'll go ahead and transition gears. We all kind of stand on that, and I think we're going to end up beating that point to death at some point. But in the NL, we have the Braves. They've all but put away the Phillies at this point. They're leading the NL East. In the NL Central, we have the Cubs. Brewers are just nipping on their heels. And in the NL West, the Dodgers have picked up a ton of ground over the last couple weeks. They now are the sole possession of first place in the West. And your wild card teams are the Brewers and the Rockies, with the Cardinals a half game out of the postseason right now behind the Rockies. Guys, what's going to happen?
I don't think this is how it's going to end. I thought that for a couple of weeks now. And just at one point before I end this off, no, it has to be the MVP in the National League.
I don't know how this is going to end. The Brewers are in, the Cubs are in, the Dodgers are in. The Dodgers are hot, they're in. The Braves, they're in. The second wild card spot, that's a 3-team race now? That's going to be tough for whoever wins that. That'll be a good wild card game. But, okay, like I said with the American League, you look at the top records. The top records could potentially be the Brewers and the Cubs.
Yeah.
And then they're going to play.
They're going to play right out of the chutes.
Yes. See? That's another reason why I think it needs to change as well. I mean, I'm not going to try and predict who's going to get that second wild card spot. I'm just going to sit back and enjoy what happens.
Yeah, I was kind of I'm going to pat myself on the back here. I was on the Rockies for a while now. I thought that they'd get that second wild card spot, but I also thought that the Diamondbacks would be able to win the West. And it's kind of bizarre how it's kind of shaped up over the last 2 weeks, because two of the franchises that I trust more would be the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks is just more of a team-related thing, and the Cardinals is just kind of a historical thing, why I trust them. And both these teams could potentially be left out of the playoffs. And, last time we had talked, the Diamondbacks were on top of the West, and we had the Cardinals right there in the hunt for the NL Central, and they were a wild card team. We had two teams out of the NL Central in the wild card. The Brewers scare the hell out of me right now, sitting here as a Cubs fan. But for some reason, I feel like the wheels are going to fall off. I've said that forever, and I felt like the wheels were going to fall off at the All-Star break, and then all of a sudden, Christian Yelich turns into like prime Ken Griffey Jr. and leads in almost every statistical category, and this team is on fire at this point. So I'm like you guys. I hate to predict it. I don't want to predict it. Let's just look for next week, because this is going to be fun to watch. Every single game matters a ton. I mean, today, we had the Cardinals going up against the Dodgers. Today. And they're wrapping up their 4-game set. The Dodgers have absolutely just put it to them over this set. But you can't tell me that the Cardinals are going to go last 2 weeks of the season and get swept in a series.
Well, as a matter of fact, the Cardinals' last 2 series are 3 against the Brewers and 3 against the Cubs.
And they play the Braves.
That's inside the playoffs right there. That's how the playoffs right there for the NL Central, at least. 3 against the Brewers, 3 against the Cubs. If they can win 6 in a row, the Brewers will never make the playoffs.
I agree. I'm really expecting this Brewers team to fall apart. And I've been saying that since the All-Star break, and I've just been proved wrong. But, okay, I'm going to go ahead and give my prediction. I can't do it. Cardinals are going to win tonight. They're going to beat the Dodgers. And it makes no sense because they've been throttled the whole entire time that they've been playing. And then I think the Cardinals are going to sweep the Brewers. I really do. I just do not trust the Brewers. And I think it goes right back to pitching, because unless Josh Hader's on the mound, I don't trust anybody on that team. I do not trust anybody on that Brewers staff unless it's Josh Hader. And Josh Hader can't throw for 3 straight games in a series. He's going to come out there and probably give you 2 good innings over this series, and that's it.
He's going to have Ben and Morrow type collapse. If he does active, he has to go out there and throw 3-4 days in a row, throw 2 or 3 innings an outing.
See, Drake, you just said it doesn't make sense, but it does make sense because baseball.
Baseball doesn't make any sense.
Baseball makes sense because baseball.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. I think the Cardinals actually have a promotion today. It might be like a Mark McGwire bobblehead or jersey.
Yeah.
What is it? Is it a
It's Mark McGwire bobblehead.
Oh,
That's
you
cool.
cannot tell me that the Cardinals are going to go out there on Mark McGwire bobblehead night and lose to the Dodgers. That does not happen in baseball. That does not happen in my world. I hate the Cardinals, but Big Mac is the man. He will be able to propel this team to the top.
Big Mac for life.
Big Mac for life. So, guys, views from the cheap seats. I think we've kind of talked a little bit about it. I mean, I'm getting jacked just talking about it with the series we have coming up. I mean, at the next, I guess, week from tomorrow, we'll have the Brewers and the Cardinals. We have basically a playoff game tonight with the Cardinals, the Dodgers. What are we looking forward to as we come down this second to last week?
I'm looking forward to the NL West battle, and I think this time next week the Dodgers have put the race all to bed, all the rest.
I'm looking forward to, as a Cardinals fan, I'm looking forward to this next couple of weeks, see how we do, and see, just what's going on. But I'm also looking for this cheap view I'm about to get at Pat's house and watch NFL Red Zone for like 7 hours.
Scott Hansen, baby.
Scott Hansen, here we come. And Trash Can, here we come.
I'm actually looking straight towards tomorrow. We got the Cubs kicking off a 3-game set with the Diamondbacks. We talked about how we just have postseason matchups left and right. I think if the Cubs are able to come out of this just with 2 wins, they're going to be able to. They won't be able to clinch, obviously, but if they're able to pick up 2 of the 3 games, I think that puts them in a great position. I'm really going to be dialed into that Diamondbacks-Cubs series because, those are 2 teams right on the cusp. Right on the cusp. Dodgers, Cardinals tonight. Guys, this is something to look forward to. And on that note, for Drake, for Lex, and for Leighton, Dippers, as always, stay saucy.